Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall.
Your child taps both fists on the table and announces, banana. Guess what? They weren't counting bites. They were counting syllables. Before your child ever reads a single word, their ears are doing some remarkable work, learning that language has a rhythm and that some words can share the same sounds, such as pig, panda, parrot, that they all start the same way. That moment at the table is all a part of it. And this episode is about how to feed that without a single worksheet in sight.
Hello, welcome to Dynamic Learning.
Hi, I'm Jane, and welcome to Dynamic Learning, the channel made by parents for parents. We've done the research, so you don't have to. This is episode 2 of our Phonics and Blending series for parents of children aged 4 to 5. Last time we looked at the big picture, what blending is, how it fits in alongside the alphabet and phonics, and what we're going to cover in this 6-episode series. Today we're building on that with Stepping Stone 1, Sound Play. And this is where things are going to get practical. So let's start with what we're focusing on this week. Sound play is the umbrella name for a cluster of listening skills. Things like noticing rhyme, tapping out syllable beats, and picking up on words that start with the same sound. The technical name is phonological awareness. And the key thing to hold on to, it is entirely an auditory skill. We are not talking about letters. We are not talking about phonics. Nothing is written and nothing is printed. We are working purely in the world of spoken language. How words sound, not how they look like on a page. So when your child claps along to banana at snack time, joins in a nursery rhyme, or says, Bertha, the bus is taking a pig, a panda and a parrot to the zoo, that's it. That's sound play. Before we go any further, drop down in the comments. Does your child have a favourite rhyme, a favourite nursery rhyme, or a favourite song that they ask for on repeat? I love reading these. It tells me so much about where families are with this. You might already be seeing this in everyday moments. Here are a few things to look out for. Tapping or clapping the beats in words. Their own name, a favourite food, a character from a book. That syllable tapping is their ear tuning into the structure of spoken words, joining in with rhyming books or songs, anticipating the next word before you say it, or finishing a line they know very well. That's rhyme awareness. Noticing when words start the same way, pointing out that pig and parrot both start with the p sound, or that their name sounds like something else. Making the occasional speech sound swaps, saying wabbit instead of rabbit, or finding the tricky. That's a typical part of speech development at this age, not something to worry about. Children vary widely in how they develop these skills. This isn't a checklist. This is a picture to show you the variety of what's possible. So why does this particular step matter? In the context of blending and learning to read. Phonological awareness is an auditory skill. It develops through hearing and listening to language around us. Children need to have an understanding on larger sounds of chunk first, the whole words, syllables, rhymes, before their ear is ready to narrow in on the smaller individual sounds that phonics and blending will eventually ask for. Think of it like the focus setting on a camera. First it starts wide, then it closes in. Syllables and rhymes are the wide-angle view. Individual phonemes, the sounds within words, are the close-up. Sound play builds on this wide view. Singing songs, reciting nursery rhymes, and playing with the different rhythm of sounds all strengthens their auditory function. So when your child starts blending letter sounds to read words like cat, rat, hat, top, the groundwork for hearing and manipulating sounds will already be there. An important thing to note is that these games support a skill. They're not a guarantee of any specific reading outcomes. What the research links is the underlying skill of phonological awareness with later reading development. The games we'll look at are a practical way to build that skill in everyday life. So here are a few practical games that you can play with your child. No need to buy anything or do any kind of setup. You can just slot them into your routines whenever you feel like it. You don't have to try all of them this week. Just a few, whichever one strikes your fancy. The first game we're going to look at is pot and pan drumming. Grab some pots, pans, and some wooden spoons, or otherwise you can just tap it out on the table. Beat out the syllables of a word together, counting the taps out loud. This can be something like, let's tap your name, Sarah, Sarah, 2 taps. Try it with longer words too. Helicopter gets 4 taps. Giggle monster gets 4 taps, and usually a lot of delight. The sillier the word, the better. The next game we're going to look at is Finish the Rhyme. Grab a hold of a familiar rhyming book, maybe their favourite one, or a nursery rhyme. Pause right before the final word of the line and let them fill in the gap. For example,
Humpty Dumpty sat at the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the kids was...
This works best with rhymes that they know very well, so it feels like a game and not a test. The next game is Alliteration Alien. Make up silly sounds that start the same as the sound of your child's name, or whatever piece of clothing they're putting on. For example, Millie's Marvellous Magic Mittens. This one draws the ear toward initial sounds in a way that feels playful rather than instructional. The last game we're going to look at is called the Listening Walk. This one works best when you're off for a walk outside. Ask your child to put on their listening ears as you walk. Stop and notice the environmental sounds together. Birds, traffic, the wind, and try to mimic them. Say to them, listen, can you hear a bird in the tree? Can we go cheep cheep? This one sharpens general sound awareness and attention, the ear training foundation that helps children begin to isolate individual sounds in words later on. These work best with any rhyming picture book you already own. Rhythmic read aloud. Read with strong expression and rhythmic emphasis. Slow down and really land the rhyming words. Exposure to rhyme builds over repeated hearings. So revisiting the same book many times is a feature, not a bug. What comes next? On a page you've read 100 million times, cover the last word of a sentence and ask, ooh, I think I know what word comes next. Can you help me finish the rhyme? Then wait. The pause is the thinking point. 2 things worth naming, because they come up a lot. Drilling for the right answer. Asking, what rhymes with dog? No, try again. Shifts a game into a test. At this age, that shift tends to make children withdraw rather than engage. Instead, try saying the rhyme yourself. I know what rhymes with dog. It's frog. Model first always. They'll join in when they feel confident. Saying s instead of s when playing with first sounds. When you start drawing attention to the first sounds of words, it's a natural habit to add a vowel. So s instead of s, m instead of m. But that extra sound changes the phoneme and makes blending harder later on. Instead, try using pure whispered sounds. Say s, not s, or not m. It takes a little bit of practice to get used to. A trick that I use when I do this is I will say a word in my head that begins with the letter that I need. So if it's S, for example, I will say snake in my head, and then I'll start to say the word, focusing on the S, very long and slow. So that would then be S, and then in my head I say snake. Or M, in my head I would use milk, for example, and just focus on and then I do the rest in my head. Let me know in the comments which one of the games you're most likely to try with your child, or if your child already has a favorite game, because some of the best game inspirations come from parents themselves. A quick note to add here: if you have any concerns about your child's speech, language, or hearing at any point, the right person to speak to is your health visitor or your GP. Or you can ask your nursery or school about local speech and language therapy support. All the games that we talked about today live inside moments you already share with your child. Snack time, getting dressed, going out for a walk, bedtime stories. There's no need to buy any extra equipment. No need to sit down and schedule learning time. Just your voice, a bit of playfulness, and a little splash of imagination. Next, we'll move on to step 2, which is oral blending. No letters, just speech. That's where your child starts hearing individual sounds and pushing them together to make sense of what's been said. It's the closest step to actual blending, and it's a game too. I'll see you there.